Hello there and welcome to the Scruffy Looking Nerd Herders podcast. I am your host, Tyler, bringing you all things nerd and geek related. And on this episode, I'm going to be talking about some Activision Blizzard news, some Marvel movie news, and some Netflix stuff. So, here we go. This is the first episode of 2019, and that is insane. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you had a great new year. I hope you were safe. And I had a pretty decent New Year's Day. We stayed up on New Year's Eve until midnight. My son was pretty excited, but not so much that there wasn't a ball drop this year. They just kind of shot off fireworks and stuff. At least we didn't see one. If there was, then. And then New Year's Day, we went to my grandparents' house and we had like snack foods and played board games. I played Splendor for the first time. That game was pretty fun. I may have to eventually get my own copy, but yeah, that game was pretty rad. You just kind of get gems and stuff like that and trade gems for other gems and a lot of gem trading and stuff. It's pretty fun. Played Settlers of Catan. That was super fun. And my sister and brother-in-law got my son for Christmas the game Santorini, and we played a couple rounds of that, and it's pretty fun. It's enjoyable for a couple rounds. I definitely feel like it would be more interesting as a two-player game rather than a team of two versus a team of two. And we played a couple rounds of Jenga, and that was about it. That was about it. But I hope you guys had a great New Year's Day, and here's to a wonderful 2019. So, first up in gaming news, reported by Rolling Stone, Soulja Boy, the rapper, has now removed his Soulja game console and handheld system late last month, with the SouljaGame.com website, which was his online store, now redirecting visitors to Nintendo 3DS's webpage. Upon removing the devices, he posted on Twitter, quote, "I had to boss up, I didn't have a choice." Just the day before, Soulja Boy was adamant that the consoles and handhelds were legit, saying in a now deleted tweet, quote, "For anyone that thinks Nintendo is going to sue me, nothing's going to happen, everything's legit, my console isn't going anywhere, trust me." Now, to what degree Nintendo actually became involved in this issue is unknown, but in a previous interview with Rolling Stone, Soulja Boy actually said that, "Honestly, I feel that everything is 100% legit and there will be no reason for any legal ramifications or anything like that. Honestly, I don't have any worries at all, any concerns, because everything we're doing is legit. It's been researched, everything has been basically confirmed that it's a green light and we're good. It's partly the people from the outside looking in that aren't understanding the type of deals that were made behind the scenes that are worried." Flash forward to now. But Soulja Boy began selling his Soulja game consoles and Soulja game handhelds on his personal storefront, Soulja Watch, earlier last month. It became readily clear that these weren't original devices, but rather rebranded emulator consoles that were put in like a fake Xbox One case. These emulators, like the consoles, could be found at other places online. But both devices played numerous licensed titles and used licensed IP to advertise, including Tekken, Tomb Raider, and various Nintendo games. Though it's more clear that these weren't really being used with permission like he said that they were. And my buddy Arturo sent this video, and I'll be sure to share it on Facebook and Twitter. But this YouTuber basically broke down, like he bought the console for, it was like $150. He did an unboxing of it, showed everything. The console itself only weighed 1.01 pounds. The controllers were complete crap. The emulators sucked. They were like cheap emulators, so they were definitely probably third party. They weren't true emulators, which even furthers that this wasn't a legitimate thing and that he was just ripping people off. And it's funny too, because just I think like 2 weeks ago, he had stated that he was wanting to get into the esports market and was really wanting to get, I think, Ninja on his esports team. Good luck with that, bud. Lastly, in gaming news, Activision Blizzard Chief Financial Officer, the CFO, Spencer Newman's contract has been terminated, the publisher announced this week, despite a decline in monthly active users and the drop in shares that accompanied the report. Activision Blizzard says that Newman's been fired over, quote, a cause unrelated to the company's financial reporting or disclosure controls and procedures, end quote. The publisher didn't really specify what the cause was, but Reuters reports that Newman was poached by Netflix and will be the streaming company's new CFO. So essentially Netflix just gave him a better deal, and so Activision Blizzard canceled his contract. Returning CFO Dennis Durkin, who until recently was Chief Corporate Officer, is taking over. With the share drop, Activision Blizzard is keen to emphasize Durkin's experience and the company's growth during his earlier tenure. Even with Call of Duty Black Ops 4's popularity and the addition of the Battle Royale mode Blackout, Activision Blizzard's games aren't maintaining the kinds of populations the publisher wants. Destiny 2 Forsaken also didn't perform as well as it had hoped. Which, I guess it's interesting enough to point out that both Black Ops 4 and Destiny 2 are both games that are heavily entrenched into the microtransaction / loot box / rip you off / whatever you want to put in there game model. Because most recently Call of Duty Black Ops 4 was put on blast for its most recent item that you can purchase, and it's literally a reticle for your red dot scope, and it's a circle. It's literally you're purchasing a PNG that can glow for your weapon, and it's a circle. It's a circle reticle, and it's $1. Like, it doesn't get much more cheap and just sleazy. Sleazy is, I guess, the better word. It doesn't get more sleazy than that. And Destiny 2 is no stranger to loot box and progression and all that, which is another thing that Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is having as well. There's progression issues and being like XP being throttled back if you're not paying a premium price and all that. Yeah, that's just... yeah. Anyway, Blizzard's also had a wobbly year. President Mike Morhaime stepped down. BlizzCon was just bombarded by the poorly received Diablo Immortal announcement. Heroes of the Storm team has been scaled back and all of its tournaments have been canceled. And most recently, there was news that employees are being paid to leave the company in an attempt to cut costs. I'm not really optimistic about the future of Blizzard at this point. Let's just hope Papa Jeff can make it through and Team Overwatch can persevere, because if Overwatch fails, I don't know what would be next. Moving on to movie/TV news. While speaking to Variety's Playback podcast, Kevin Feige addressed what Disney's acquisition of Fox's movie properties could mean for the MCU. He told Variety that he hasn't been given the official green light to start integrating those characters into the existing Marvel Studios framework just yet, but was told, quote, it's looking very, very good and could happen in the first 6 months of next year, which is 2019. Considering that Marvel hasn't announced what its next phase of Marvel movies after Avengers Endgame will be beyond July's Spider-Man Far From Home, it's not much of a stretch to assume that the studio is keeping its options open should it get these missing Fox-owned characters back into the fold. Disney currently has 7 untitled Marvel movies holding on to release dates through 2022, and with Guardians 3 on indefinite hiatus, it's anyone's guess what the next movies coming for the MCU are after the Spider-Man sequel. Netflix has a habit of saving shows and movies that other networks have canceled due to whether it was ratings or they just didn't want to continue with the show or the movie was probably going to flop. Stuff such as Lucifer, Cloverfield Paradox, and most recently Mowgli. All properties probably would have bombed in traditional distribution, but Netflix doesn't just save just any canceled movie or show, which is why they're apparently not going to save the box office flop that is Sony's Holmes and Watson. At the time of this recording, Holmes and Watson is sitting at a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes and has a 24% on Metacritic. The movie is so just abysmally bad that moviegoers are actually walking out within 20 to 30 minutes into the movie. Look, I love Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly team-up movies. The Ballad of Ricky Bobby was great. Step Brothers was hilarious. I love Sherlock Holmes novels. And I really enjoyed the Robert Downey Jr. movies, as well as BBC show Sherlock. But this movie, from the first trailer that was shown, looked just like a steaming pile of crap. My buddy Rudy went and saw it, and he said that it just was not worth the price of a ticket. Holmes and Watson opened with $6.4 million on its opening weekend, on a budget of $42 million. According to Deadline, the test scores for the movie were so awful that Sony tried unloading this steaming pile to Netflix, but they just didn't want it. Speaking of Netflix, they've apparently had to ask people to stop doing the Bird Box challenge. Now, for those that are unaware of what this challenge is, or what a Bird Box is, Netflix released a horror concept movie called Bird Box, in the movie, Sandra Bullock and her children, named Boy and Girl, are forced to wear blindfolds and navigate spooky stuff to protect themselves from evil monsters that, if seen, makes people kill themselves. So I wonder if the evil monsters are the Holmes and Watson movie. The movie has inspired the Bird Box challenge, in which people attempt to complete tasks while blindfolded. Netflix US tweeted out, "Can't believe that I have to say this, but please do not hurt yourselves with this Bird Box challenge. We don't know how this started, and we appreciate the love, but Boy and Girl have just one wish for 2019, and that is that you not end up in the hospital due to memes." According to Netflix, last month, more than 45 million Netflix accounts had streamed the movie, which set a new record for the best ever first week for a Netflix film. I am not one of those people caught up in the Bird Box hysteria. We have not had an opportunity to watch it, because even though the holidays have passed, we are still extremely, extremely busy. So, this is another one of those shameful piles, or movies added to my shameful pile of movies and TV shows that I have not completed yet. And in more Netflix news, here's just a snippet of stuff that is going to be or is currently on Netflix in January 2019. So first off, all 4 Indiana Jones movies are on there. We just recently watched 2 nights in a row, The Last Crusade, and that's like one of our go-to indie movies. When I say Indiana Jones movies. The other one being Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's my personal favorite. But all 4 are on Netflix, available to stream, and they look pretty crystal clear. Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back is on there, one of my favorite comedy movies. Pan's Labyrinth is on there. Pulp Fiction, The Dark Knight, Watchmen, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Solo, A Star Wars Story, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and just announced January 18th, Punisher Season 2 will be on Netflix. And I gotta say, Jigsaw looks pretty cool. I know they said they weren't going to go the traditional route with him of having a huge, gouged, scarry looking face, but I mean, in this day and age, especially a millionaire that is going to get facial reconstruction, there's not going to be a whole lot of scars left. So minimal scars kind of make sense. But his mask is pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. The first time I saw a little teaser trailer, I thought it was kind of lame. But I rewatched it again and I paused it and I was checking it out. It looks pretty cool. So I'm pretty stoked for Punisher Season 2. But that's coming out this month as well. And those were the most notable stuff. There's a huge list of them. But these were the ones that really stuck out to me. So recently, my son and I have gotten into watching Naruto on Netflix, and I've actually seen all the way up to Naruto Shippuden, that one, and so I've already seen this, but it's really interesting because I watched it with subtitles, and so it was the original Japanese voice actors, and it's interesting to hear the dubbed version for the first time. Very different tone sometimes, based off of dialogue from the subtitles and from hearing the voice actors for the English speakers. But yeah, we're having a blast with it. He's loving it, and so far so good. But Netflix has also added an anime called High Score Girl. It's kind of a play on words there, like high score, like you're thinking, oh, like arcade stuff, but it's actually like high, like hello, score girl. And it looks pretty rad. It's set in Japan during the arcade boom of the 1990s, which I was born in 88, so I kind of caught like the very tail end when I was younger of the arcade. We had a bowling alley that had a couple arcade cabinets, and one of them was Mario, and another one was Mortal Kombat, and those two were my definite go-tos. But High Score Girl is a comedy anime focused on 3 childhood friends. It mainly follows a character named Haruo Yaguchi, who absolutely loves video games. He's kind of a slacker, but he definitely excels when it comes to video games. And he comes face to face with his ultimate Street Fighter II opponent, his female classmate, Akira Ono. This anime looks pretty rad, and I'm actually pretty stoked to jump into it. I'm not sure if it's kid-friendly or not. I would imagine it would be, but I'm going to watch it through first just to be on the safe side. And if it is pretty cool, I'm sure my son would probably dig watching it as well once we finish Naruto. We only have, I don't know, 480 episodes left to go. Not to mention the second series of Shippuden. So, yeah, I kind of have my year planned out for me. So, this brings me to the end of the show, and this is the part where I tell you to please share, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. I'm on all the socials. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at SLNH Podcast. You can find me at slnhpodcast.com. I have merch. There's links to the merch on the website. I've recently started doing on Instagram and Twitter a daily useless D&D item, and it's usually stuff just that's like really stupid because there's been like a spike in popularity of people posting like homebrew D&D items, and I thought I would get in on it, but something that's more my style, just something really stupid and silly, and so keep an eye out for that. But anyway, you can find me on iTunes. You can find me on Spotify. I am now on Stitcher. I am on Podbean, which shout out to the Podbean podcast because they gave me a little shout out on their most previous episode. If you like podcasts and if you're curious about how podcasts are made or anything like that, they interview podcasters all the time. So go check them out. And if you do, tell them that I sent you, and maybe I can get on there and do a little interview. That'd be pretty rad. Anyway, and I'm hoping soon, hopefully within a month or so, I will actually be able to start live streaming from Twitch and having YouTube content and then converting it to a podcast. So if those other two are more convenient for you, you'll be able to check those out as well. Hopefully sometime in the very near future. Guys, this is Tyler from the Scruffy Looking Nerd Herders podcast signing off, and may the Force be with you.